Rabbi Chaim Tzvi Schwartz relates how previously, before World War II, his family had been followers of the Rebbe of Munkach. However, after World War II, he sought advice with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, or at the time the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneersohn. He was surprised when the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneersohn, told him to go and get advice instead from his son-in-law. So he went to Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneersohn, who told him that if he was seeking what to do, he ought to move to Brazil of all places. Completely baffled, the Rebbe explained that there was a group of Jews there that could undoubtedly use his expertise and advice, having very little knowledge of what it meant to be a Jew. And so, with the advice of the Rebbe and the blessing of the Rebbe, he went to Brazil of all places. This was again end of the 40s, going into the early 50s, but thank God he was very successful, and in a short time was able to make a school, a synagogue, and more as years went by. One day he received a phone call from some parents of one of the boys at his school who were desperate, he could tell. He went over immediately to speak to them, and they said to him, listen, this has nothing to do with our son. Thank God our son, was young, and he was able to adapt quite quickly, even though we're not very religious. He's in a religious school, and we do the best we can. But this pertains to our daughter. She was already older by the time you came and settled over here and started doing the wonderful things you've been doing. And they started crying, and they told of how she had said that she had fallen in love with a non-Jewish man and that she intended to elope and marry this non-Jewish man, and they were hoping if maybe Rabbi Schwartz could do something. They had tried everything they possibly could, and they were just not getting through to her. Rabbi Schwartz pained him to see this family in the pain that they were going through and the sorrow that they were experiencing. And so he said, although I don't know if I could be much help, I'll try my best. Would she see me? They said, listen, as long as she doesn't know that we sent you, maybe she'll see you. So he says, okay, so I'll just go of my own accord. He took down the address and he went to visit. She was surprised when there was a rabbi at her door. Nevertheless, she cordially allowed him in. And he stayed for a few hours talking to her over the entire dilemma. She, although a bit disturbed, having now put two and two together of why he was here, sat there quietly and listened. And after he concluded, she said, thank you, but you haven't succeeded in getting through to me, and this he felt as well. And so she let him out and he went on his way. But it bothered him so much, he didn't know what more he could do, but he knew he had to do something. So without any other choice, he called up 770 Crown Heights to Brooklyn, to the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's office. Rabbi Hodakov, the secretary of the Rebbe, answered the phone, and Rabbi Schwartz told him the situation. He waited as Rabbi Hodakov related to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he came back on the phone, and he says, the Rebbe wants you to go back to her and to tell her that there is a Jew in Brooklyn that cannot sleep because of what she wishes to do, to sever herself from the Jewish community. Rabbi Schwartz said, who is this Jew in Brooklyn that can't sleep? And he heard a sound over the other end of the receiver. His name is Mendel Schneersohn, the Rebbe said. He was completely confused by the words. Nevertheless, he hung up the phone and he thought to himself, what am I going to do? She probably won't let me in. She probably won't even hear me out. But at the same time, I can stomach my pride. I can shove it down real good if it means that there's in the off chance that maybe I'll get through to her. So with the strange words of the Rebbe, he made his way to the door, and as he knocked, she, as he expected, did not want to see him. I thought, to be honest, I didn't really want to see you, but I have respect for religious men, I have respect for rabbis, and so I allowed myself to go through that. But now you have the chutzpah, you come back for more, and as she's about to slam the door on him, he says, hold on, there's a rabbi in Brooklyn that can't sleep because of the decision you're about to make. And now she chuckled. She says, that's what you have to say? That's what you say? Now she's about to close the door, and again she stops for a moment and she says, what's his name? And he says, well, his name is Rabbi Mendel Schneersohn. She laughs. I don't know anyone by that name. Again, she's about to close the door. She says, do you have a picture of him? And he says, look, I don't have on me, but I think I have somewhere in my house. She says, fine, get it and I'll see it. Okay. He's got an opportunity. He ran, he turned his entire home over until eventually he found a picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in one of his desks, and made his way back there. As she opened the door, he held up the picture to show her who it was, and she immediately went pale. She said, yeah, that's him. She let out a big sigh and she said, I figured that you were just trying anything to get in here. But the truth is that every single night, this entire week, I've seen a man appear to me in my dreams, pained, so filled with sorrow, begging me not to do this, saying that he can't sleep because of what I'm about to do. I thought it was like my subconscious, because of all the words of my parents and because of the words of you. I'd conjured up some image of some, esteemed sage-looking rabbi, and this was my subconscious trying to, speak to me in my dreams. But now I see that this is definitely something more than that. I have never met this man. I've never heard of this man. Never heard his name before. Nevertheless, that is the man that has been appearing to me every single night in my dreams and crying and begging me not to do this, not to stray from my people. In the end, thank God, the woman decided not to go through with the marriage. Nevertheless, what became abundantly clear, and has always been abundantly clear, is that the Rebbe was always looking out for every Jew, even Jews that didn't even know who the Rebbe was. He was watching out for them. He was caring for them like they were his only child.